Hello, fellow Christmas lovers and enthusiasts. You are listening to Closer to Christmas. Today is August 25th, and that means there are 122 days left until Christmas. Welcome back to Closer to Christmas. Today, we're going to start talking about something that can both be fascinating and slightly terrifying for parents: the questions. Kids are naturally curious. If you've ever spent an entire afternoon with a 5-year-old, you already know this. You can answer one question and somehow end up 20 minutes later discussing dinosaurs, the moon, why cats have whiskers, whether Santa's reindeer have ever had a traffic accident. It's just endless. Kids want to understand the world around them, and that's a wonderful thing. But as they get older, you may notice that the questions they ask about Christmas start changing. Instead of simply asking you to explain something, they may start examining how something works. They might notice a detail you've never had to explain before, or they might compare something they've seen or heard with something you've told them. And every once in a while, they'll ask a question that makes you pause for just a second before answering. That's usually the moment when a parent realizes, okay, we're entering a new stage. Now, here's where I think parents sometimes make things harder on themselves than they need to. When your child asks one of those questions, you don't necessarily have to immediately figure out what it means. Maybe they're simply curious. Maybe something happened at school. Maybe a friend said something. Maybe they're trying to understand something that they've noticed. Or maybe they're just doing what kids do and asking a question because it popped into their head. So, instead of immediately jumping into an explanation, try asking them what made them wonder about it. You could say something like, "That's an interesting question. What made you think about that?" And then actually listen to the answer. That little bit of information can tell you a lot. You might discover that your child isn't anywhere near the conversation you were worried that they were heading toward. They may have simply noticed something small and want you to explain it. And if that's the case, great. You've learned something without accidentally turning a simple question into a much bigger conversation. That's why I think one of the most important things parents can do during this stage is slow down. You don't have to answer immediately. You don't have to have the perfect response. You don't even have to know exactly where the conversation is going. It's okay to say, "That's a really good question. Let me think about it for a minute." Parents sometimes feel that we're supposed to have an answer for everything, but we're not. We're allowed to think. We're allowed to ask questions back. We're allowed to figure out what our child is actually asking before we respond. And there's another important thing to remember. Children don't all go through this at the same time. One child might start questioning things much earlier than another. One might be extremely observant, while others are perfectly happy to enjoy Christmas without overanalyzing any of it. Neither one is doing it wrong. They're just different kids. So if your child starts asking questions this year, don't immediately assume that Christmas has suddenly changed forever. It may simply mean that your child is growing, becoming more curious, and beginning to see the world from a slightly different perspective. And honestly, that's something we should celebrate. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the moment when one of the questions gets a little more direct, because that's usually when parents start thinking, all right, what exactly am I supposed to say here? And believe me, we'll have some ideas. I'll see you tomorrow, and remember, the next time you hear my voice in this podcast, we'll all be a little bit closer to Christmas. Thanks for listening.